um, to let everyone know, I'm going to be giving actually two talks this morning, afternoon. So this first talk is a short presentation about a particular research project that we want to let people know about. And then separately, I'll be giving a talk this afternoon more about our efforts to study the cancer genome to guide therapy, but also what that means for how people can use genetic testing in terms of guiding their care. Because one of the reasons we're doing it was two different talks is we really wanted to highlight the fact that my other talk is really about, guiding therapy and patients, but this is research which is separate, and I didn't want to mix up the research and the parts that are really about informing patient care. And so this presentation is about a research project through a endeavor called Count Me In, which is a partnership between the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, the Broden Institute, which is across the river in Cambridge, and also funded by some major philanthropists, especially the Emerson Collective, which was started by the Steve Jobs' widow, the company behind Apple. And the goal is to say, can we reach people, not only people who may be getting seen at centers like Dana-Farber, but reach people all over the country so we could gain information about their cancers and use that so that we could help speed cancer research. And what we know is that most people, obviously not people who are being treated at Dana-Farber or Mass General or Sloan Kettering, but most people are treated for their cancer in the community. And therefore, there's a lot of very potentially valuable information that could be learned about their cancer therapy and how their tumors respond or don't respond to certain drugs, and how that may correlate with different features of their tumors that all of us aren't learning about. And if we have ways that we could reach out to more patients, that we could learn more quickly and try to get better therapies to patients faster. And the idea behind the Count Me In project is now that we live in this era where there are so many ways that we can reach out to people, with technology and so forth, that we can now maybe reach the people who ordinarily would not be participating in research. And so now we have this program called the Esophageal and Stomach Cancer Program through this effort called Count Me In, where patients anywhere in the U.S. and Canada with diagnoses of esophageal or gastric cancer, either people who are survivors or people being actively cared for, can enroll in this project so that they could share information and so that we could build data, as I'll explain, that we could then share broadly with researchers to help not just us, but help everyone speed research in these tumors. And I'll speak to this a little later this afternoon, but our goal is really, now that we're living in an era we can profile the genome and patients, and is we really want to understand what that means for how different features of patients' tumors correlate with what drugs they do well with, what drugs they don't do well with, how patients' genomes change over time, how they become resistant to therapy. We want to understand that in as many patients as possible, not only the patients we see here at Dana-Farber, but we want to learn from the experiences of people and as many patients as possible. And there's more to do, and the more people we can reach, the faster we can make this work go forward. And really what we want to get to the point is where we have detailed information on thousands of patients' cancers on what is the features of the tumor genome, how did patients do with certain therapies, who are the people who responded really well to this drug, or who are the patients who responded really well to this other drug. Can we link that to features of the tumor and sort of build this information so that in the future we'll be much able to look at a particular patient's tumor and say, aha, we think that this tumor is more likely to benefit from this drug versus that, and we're going to get that information from learning from many, many people. And so what we have here is a research effort. This is not clinical care, this is research. So it's been approved by our ethics board here at Dana-Farber, and it's approved by our ethics board not just for our patients, but for people anywhere who can sign up for this project and share basic information. It allows us to share or to collect basic information about the patient's medical records, but also allows us to get samples from the patient and from the hospital where the patient may have had a biopsy or surgery, so that we can do more detailed testing on the tumor and on the patient samples, and allows us also through the consent to share this information with scientists everywhere, and sharing information about the tumor, not about the patient. So it's nothing identified, but to have, make it so a resource that scientists everywhere can be more effective in doing their work in esophageal and gastric cancer. So any patient with a diagnosis or a history of these cancers can sign up. It's a simple login at the website. Also, again, Lee here has information for people who are interested. And there's a short survey that's done online, basic demographic information, age, gender, and so forth, and a little information on the cancer therapy history. And then if patients want, there is additional consent for some other aspects. One is to give our team permission to access medical records, and one is to give our team access, permission for getting samples of tumor blood and saliva. And so, trying to figure out how, if you're at your laptop, how do you give a saliva sample? You can't, put that into the USB drive, obviously. And we have examples over here, but we actually have simple kits that we mail out to people, and it comes in like a self-addressed process. We actually have, people can see the kits. It's very, very, very simple. You get in the mail, you could spit into the tube, and drop it in the mailbox, and we do all of the work. And the reason we do that is that saliva is a source of normal DNA, because part of our studies understanding how the tumor is different from the normal, but this is a way to get that. Also, as I'll talk about later in terms of the new tests that are being used to guide therapy, there's also a very exciting new effort now, and this is really already getting into the clinic, of being able to study the cancer genome by looking at the blood, by looking at the DNA that comes from the cancer that's shed into the normal blood. And this is becoming a very powerful way to understand the cancer genome, and also how the cancer genome changes over time during therapy. And so we also have programs and effort to get blood from patients, where again we send out a kit, and then whenever the patient is at their doctor's office getting blood work anyway, you basically hand them an extra tube, and we have the kit there, and then basically they put the blood in the tube, to give it a couple shakes, and then again it goes in the package in the mail, and we do all the work. And also we're trying to get medical records and samples. This sounds like a lot of work, but the key thing is that our team, Lee and colleagues, do all the heavy lifting. So basically, if you give the consent online, the team at the Broad, contacts the hospital, gets the samples and so forth. And also, one of our important parts of this project is we never want to get in the way of clinical care. So we're never going to use a patient sample for testing if we're not confident that there's more sample left, so that if something's needed for the clinical testing, that there will not be a sample available. Just a couple questions. So first is patient's identity will not be revealed. So the data will be shared, but it'll be patient 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 had these features. It won't be anything identifiable. One thing is that because this is a research project and the studies we're doing are research grade, not clinical grade sequencing, we're not legally allowed to report the data back. So a project like this is not a replacement from the kind of work that many patients have done in their tumors, either through a place like Dana-Farber or Mass General, or a company like Foundation Medicine, where they try to look at the features of the tumor to guide therapy. This is not a replacement for that. And obviously people can withdraw their consent at any time. Also, I just want to say this is not this is all funded by the philanthropy, and the goal of this is for us to create a data set that is publicly available to scientists everywhere. And so this is not a commercial or anything like that. So if people are interested in helping, obviously we'd be very happy if people signed up for the project. And also, one of the ways we're trying to expand this is also reaching more patients. And these days there's a lot of online Facebook groups and so forth. So often, patients are the best advocates for this. So if there are people who are interested in posting to others, we have information that we could provide. If there are people interested in becoming more engaged, there's a possibility to become what we call a patient ambassador. And also our project involves people who help us do this, help us, create the questionnaires to reach out to patients, help us think about what information we should be providing. So if people want to get more engaged in this project, just please let us know. Again, this is the project that we're leading. Definitely happy to take questions in person, offline, and again, Lee is available in the side of the room with other information. So thank you, and then I'll be back about more patient care issues with genome testing in the afternoon.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
So people often ask, what can I do to help? And this is a very tangible way in which many of us here in this room can help. And again, we have this table over here on the right where you can sign up and get more information, take a look at the sample packages that you would receive in the mail. And again, we're hoping to really roll this out on a national basis so that we can get a huge number of patients.
Yeah, I think we've had over 200 sign up now from all over the country.
And that's just a start. So again, this will provide important information to move research forward in this disease. So we're now going to move on to the panel discussion portion of the morning. And as you can see up front, we're setting up for this now. Those of you who have put questions on index cards, please bring them forward to the podium. And some people might help collect them as well, but this will allow us to answer your questions over the next half hour. Thank you.